Hi there, and welcome to the training on scheduling meetings in Zoom. Now, to get started here, we need to talk a little bit about Zoom. You've seen Zoom in your class. In your course menus, you have the Zoom button, and when you click on Zoom, you have certain options. Now, what you may not have seen is that there's also a more global Zoom, one that controls all of your Zoom meetings across all of your classes in the college. And the way to get that is to go to valenciacollege.zoom.us. And that global menu looks like this. Your course menu looks like this. You can, of course, see all of your Zoom meetings from the global menu by clicking on this link within your course menu. But your students won't be able to see all those. Your students will only be able to click on Zoom and see the meetings you schedule in that Zoom class. They'll also see recordings for meetings that you schedule within the Zoom class. Of course, you can always share the recordings from Zoom scheduled from anywhere. And so let's talk a little bit about these two. You have the Zoom class, and you have the Zoom Global. Now in the Zoom Global menu, you have the ability to go up and of course host your meetings. You can schedule meetings. And if you do choose to schedule a meeting, simply click on schedule a meeting. It'll ask you to put in a name for the meeting. You can put in a description for your meeting. You can choose when you would like to meet. And one of the things you can choose is this option for recurring meetings. Now what this means is if you're using that global menu, you might want to set up, let's say, engagement hours where you're going to engage with your students. And maybe you want to do that over the course of a week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, right? And maybe you want to set it up for 1 hour every day at a certain time, and you want to do it up until a certain date, maybe the end of the semester. So we'll go ahead and set that all the way up until the last day of the month. And so what this is going to do is this is going to schedule a recurring meeting that gives you a link. And of course, it'll be the same link for every meeting. And so this recurring meeting link will be designed for you to share with students. Now, you come down here, you can choose to turn the video on or off as people come in. A lot of people like to turn these videos off, and that way students have control. They don't just come in surprised. They can come in and turn on their information. I'll have as the host my information on, but my participants will automatically be off. You allow students to come in. I recommend doing both, whether by telephone or computer audio, depending on how they want to join. But something you want to do is you want to enable the waiting room. And the reason you want to do this is because there are things called Zoom bombing. And what Zoom bombing is people can find out your code and somehow get into your room. But if you have a waiting room enabled, you can look at your student names and admit them or not admit them. If you don't recognize somebody, you can message them and ask them who they are, and then choose to let them in or not let them in. If you don't have the waiting room enabled, people can come right into your Zoom and say things or disrupt your class. And so it's always recommended that you enable the waiting room. Now, of course, I'm scheduling this through the global menu. Could I schedule the same way through my class menu? Of course. All I have to do is click on this schedule a meeting, and you'll notice we're right back at the same kind of questions. What's the name of my meeting? What's the description? What are the days? Is this going to be recurring or not, right? I can come in and have my video turned on, but I'll turn my students off, and then I will, of course, enable the waiting room. Now, if I schedule a meeting inside of my Zoom class, then what's going to happen is my students are going to see that. So when a student clicks on this, notice I have a meeting for 3 o'clock. If I go into student view, my students will be able to see, by clicking on this Zoom, this meeting. Now, they'll also be able to join this meeting. They can also look at my cloud recordings. Now, that's a real benefit for students because they can always know where to go. The one issue is, though, is that if it is going to be for this class, that means if you're doing office hours, you would have to set up office hours for this class, and then office hours for another class, and then office hours for, say, a third class, and that could be a problem. And that's why people often schedule engagement hours or office hours through the global setting, because once you set this up and you have your meetings, you can always click on the meeting and get the meeting link to share with students. Once you have the link, you can, of course, embed that in a page in your class. You could put a link in different places. Let me show you what that looks like inside of a class. Notice here it says virtual office hours. Notice when I click on the home page how I've got this image here. If students click on this image, they go right to the meeting. If students click right on this link, they go right to the meeting. There are lots of ways. I could also send them an email as long as I have the link. And so you really have two platforms. One's the global platform that looks at all of your possible meetings and all your possible classes. and the other is your course-specific Zoom. You can choose where you would like to schedule your meetings and how you would like to schedule your meetings for your own reasons. But know again that only students in the class will see the Zooms scheduled from within a class. If you want to share across your classes, well, then that's when you're going to have to go to the valenciacollege.zoom.us. I hope that helps. Have a great day.